Chapter 420. I know where the 12th sun pattern is. To the east of the land of extreme Yin, there is a golden desert with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. That is the place with the weakest earth qi and Yin qi. It symbolizes the sun of the land of extreme Yin. In the golden desert, a broken shrine would often appear out of nowhere. The sun pattern on the shrine is exactly the same as the one on the map. I saw it in an ancient book. Murong Qingqing put down her chopsticks and took out a yellowed ancient book from her storage ring. She opened it and handed it over to Yi Chen. Yi Chen took the book and carefully read it. After a while, he put down the book and said, according to the description, this dilapidated temple should be a building from ancient times and is located in another space. It will only be connected to this world when the sun rises. However, it will only exist for 3 days every month, and the time of its appearance is uncertain. Murong Qingqing nodded. Although I know where the 12th sun pattern is, I still need to know the previous 11 patterns. Since this map has no end, who knows what lies beyond the last pattern? It would be best to find someone who knows the history of extreme Yin region. However, I want to break through to the peak of late astral reaching realm in the next 3 days. I'll have to trouble you to find someone. In fact, Yi Chen didn't have that kind of urgent desire for the undying body. However, the opportunity was right before his eyes, and he couldn't ignore it. Who knew what he would discover in the process of searching for the secrets of the undying body? He couldn't act as if nothing had happened. Alright, rest assured and cultivate. When Murong Qingqing heard that Yi Chen had another opportunity to make progress, she was already used to it. As for finding someone who knew the history of extreme Yin region, it wasn't too difficult. Regardless of the era, there would always be people who liked to study history. If she couldn't find one in 3 Yin city, she could go to another city. After eating breakfast, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing greeted each other and returned to their guest room. The most important thing right now is to increase my strength. Once my cultivation base reaches the peak of late astral reaching realm, I'll be able to contend against ordinary Sea of Soul realm experts. Without exchanging blows with Sea of Soul realm experts, Yi Chen couldn't figure out their strength. Rather than pinning his hopes on Dragon King's will, he might as well strengthen himself. Only by strengthening himself would he have the confidence to contend. Who? Letting out a deep breath, Yi Chen sat cross-legged on the bed, took out 2 upper-grade spirit stones and started cultivating. The spirit stone Yuan Qi contained in high-grade spirit stones was extremely pure. It did not need to be tempered at all and could be directly transformed into quintessential essence. The only difference between it and quintessential essence was that it was thinner and not as condensed as quintessential essence. 100 strands of spirit stone Yuan Qi could be condensed into a strand of quintessential essence. 3 days passed in a flash. The morning of the 4th day. A powerful Zhen Yuan fluctuation spread out from Yi Chen's room like a storm, engulfing the entire restaurant. The sharp qi belonging to the green lotus Zhen Yuan soared into the sky, even cutting the flowing wind in the sky into pieces, cutting it off from the outside air. He broke through. In the guest room opposite, Murong Qingqing raised her head thoughtfully. His bones crackled as Yi Chen slowly opened his eyes. 2 beams of cold lightning shot out from his pupils, causing the air to stagnate. I've finally reached the peak of late astral reaching realm. If I don't break through to the Sea of Soul realm in the future, my Zhen Yuan will not increase in the slightest. The amount of Zhen Yuan one could contain was also different according to the difference in one's physique and soul. A person with a stronger physique and soul might be able to contain several times more Zhen Yuan than a person with a weaker physique and soul, or even 10 times more. And in between, there was a relation of utilization. For example, if a person's physique was very strong, but his soul was not strong, then his Zhen Yuan could only reach the limit of his soul's control. His physique would not be saturated at all. This was the same principle as a wooden bucket, where the water inside would always be at the same level as the shortest piece of wood. Yi Chen had cultivated the pure jade body-boosting spell, and his body had also been tempered by the heavenly demonic flower. His physique was definitely second to none among astral-reaching experts. Up until now, the only one who could surpass him in this aspect was Su Jing. However, compared to his physique, Yi Chen's soul was even more powerful, which caused the Green Lotus Xin Yuan to reach the limit of his physique. It had yet to reach the limit of his soul's control. In other words, even if Green Lotus sword arts broke through to the 14th layer, the total amount of Xin Yuan would not increase. Only the purity of Xin Yuan was limitless. It's time to leave. Standing up, Yi Chen felt his whole body brimming with an indescribable aura. This was because his cultivation base had reached the limit of astral reaching realm. Before this, although his cultivation base was very close to the peak of late astral reaching realm, a gap was a gap, and it wouldn't change. However, when the power of this realm reached perfection, a mysterious feeling of control arose, and he had the desire to break the shackles of heaven and earth. Outside 3 City, 3 figures, 1 in the front and 2 in the back, headed east. In Extreme region, the rooster pattern represents 4 places. The first is Rooster Crow Valley, the second is Rooster Crow Town, and the third is the Chaoyang Mountain where the first 11th grade demonic King Cyan Radiance chicken was born. As for the last one, Rooster Crown Tree, very few people know about it. I only came across it by chance in an ancient book. The one leading the group was an old man in his 70s. His name was Wang Tong. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing both called him Old Wang. Old Wang's cultivation base was not weak, having long since reached mid-astral reaching realm. He had been traveling all year round, and had recently returned to his hometown, 3 City. Murong Qingqing had run into Old Wang on the antique street. Seeing that he was knowledgeable, she exchanged some words with him, and eventually decided on him as the leader. The reward that Elder Wang needed was not small at all. A high-rank Earth Realm Cultivation Skill Manual, 3 high-rank Earth Realm Martial Skill Manuals, a Lightness Skill Manual, 30,000 mid-rank Spirit Stones, and 500,000 low-rank Spirit Stones. Adding them all together, it was definitely a shocking amount of wealth. Of course, it wasn't that Old Wang was greedy. For someone like him who explored history, whenever he encountered something of research value, he would buy it even if he had to eat. He was often short of spirit stones, both mid-grade and low-grade. Moreover, when traveling alone, his battle strength couldn't be too weak. His cultivation technique and martial skill had to be a bit better, and he also had to have an agility technique manual, which could allow him to escape at a crucial moment. High-grade Earth-grade cultivation technique and 2 high-grade Earth-grade martial skill manuals were given to Wang Tong by Yi Chen. Because Wang Tong needed 3 unique martial skills, the 3rd martial skill manual was given to him by Murong Qingqing, Little Demonic Hand. When cultivated to the late stage, this martial skill could condense a small demonic force field. Be it in battle or defense, it was extremely outstanding, making Wang Tong beam with joy. Yi Chen didn't have the agility technique manual, so it was given to Wang Tong by Murong Qingqing. As for the spirit stones, they were all paid by Yi Chen. With a long sword on his waist, Yi Chen followed closely behind Wang Tong and asked, "Out of these 4 places, which one should we go first?" Wang Tong said, "Chicken Crow Valley and Chicken Crow Town can be eliminated, their history is too shallow. Yang Mountain Range and Coxcomb Tree are the places we need to go. Let's go to Yang Mountain Range first." "Hee, you guys can't go anywhere." On the mountain peak next to them, 2 human silhouettes flew over and blocked in front of the 3 of them. On the left was a handsome young man with a silver crown, and on the right was an old man wearing a ghost-swallowing cloud robe. Yi Chen's expression didn't change. He had long since guessed that Duan Lingyun wouldn't let him off so easily. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile as he walked forward and said, "That's fine too. Let's settle this trouble today." Duan Lingyun took out his azure dragon halberd and pointed it at Yi Chen. He said coldly, "That's right, it's time to end this. Today, this place will be the place of your death. Boom! Azure light exploded from the Azure Dragon halberd. Duan Lingyun tightened his grip, and the 2-meter-long halberd shot towards Yi Chen with a violent roar. The azure light streaked across the sky like an azure dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The dragon's body traversed across the mountain peak, its head stretched out and opened its mouth to bite. Duan Lingyun had used his killing move right from the start. Pushing Wang Tong a few miles away, Yi Chen's right hand grasped the sword hilt, and the azure wood sword was instantly unsheathed. The incomparably sharp sword light was like a wound that split the heaven and earth, and a tearing will gushed out, enveloping the incoming azure dragon energy. The azure dragon energy was broken into pieces, but Duan Lingyun had already used this opportunity to close in on Yi Chen. The heavy azure dragon halberd fell from the sky with great force. Ding! The sword and halberd collided, and sparks connected, radiating in all directions in a fan shape. The forest was set ablaze, and the mountain peak was burnt. Wherever the two went, the sky and earth were turned upside down. Bewitching eye. His attack blocked, Duan Lingyun retreated. While he was retreating, his eyes shone brightly, and circles of misty ripples spread out, affecting Yi Chen's body. And, it really came. Yi Chen was already prepared. Although he couldn't pull out his sword intent and use it alone like his opponent could, the gap between his battle power and Duan Lingyun's battle power was too big, and it wasn't something that could be made up for with a mere soul-sundering eye. Break! Withdrawing his Jin Yuan, Yi Chen waved out a sword filled with sword intent. Pop! Duan Lingyun's soul-sundering eye's first style was broken, and his face was extremely pale. Clenching his teeth, he forcefully used the second style, Chaotic Soul Eye, which was also the strongest style he could grasp. Chaotic Soul Eye, as its name suggested, could confuse the opponent's soul. The ripples it emitted did not have any pattern, and were ripple vortexes of different sizes. If one got too close, one's soul would feel like it was about to be sucked away. Wang Tong, who was watching the battle, was shocked. He was several li away from the battlefield, but he could still feel the power of Chaotic Soul Eye. He felt dizzy, and if it wasn't for Murong Qingqing using her martial will to isolate it, he would have lost his composure long ago. He couldn't help but be shocked by Duan Lingyun's strength, and even more shocked by Yi Chen, who was suppressing him. "You're not my opponent. Let the old one do it." Inside the ripple vortex, Yi Chen raised his azure wood sword high, poured a powerful sword intent into it, and slashed down. Puff! Duan Lingyun spurted out a mouthful of blood, looking dispirited. During the battle, he had not only used the soul-sundering eye to affect Yi Chen's battle strength, but also launched sneak attacks. However, Yi Chen's battle strength was beyond his imagination. A casual attack from Yi Chen was able to push him back, and the soul-sundering eye was ineffective. "Lingyun, back off." Ghost Moon moved. His figure flashed, and the surrounding space seemed to sway. His whole person was like a silhouette in a mirror, appearing 100 steps in front of Yi Chen in an extremely strange manner. Standing with his hands clasped behind his back, Ghost Moon looked down at Yi Chen. "Kid, it's not easy for you to reach where you are today. I, Ghost Moon, also don't want to do something that will anger the heavens and the people. How about this? I'll give you a chance to live. Break your own arms and legs, then cut off your own tongue. How about that?" In his eyes, Yi Chen was already a dead man. Saying such words was already enough to make him feel honored. He was not like other Sea of Souls realm warriors, who would fight and kill right from the start. He liked to destroy his opponent's faith first, letting him know that no matter how hard he struggled, the result would not change, and then give him a cruel choice. Chapter 421. Slowly but powerfully circulating his Jin Yuan, gradually increasing its speed, Yi Chen said indifferently, "Do you think I would be that stupid? You are Ghost Moon's spirit warrior, and nothing more than a spirit warrior. If you were a Sea of Soul realm master, saying such words wouldn't be a problem. Hearing his words, the injured Duan Lingyun and Wang Tong were stunned. Hearing Yi Chen's words, it seemed like he didn't put Sea of Soul Realm experts in his eyes at all. For them, this was an inconceivable thing. Although spirit warriors were the lowest level of Sea of Soul Realm experts, they were still Sea of Soul Realm experts. They had already shed their mortal bodies, and were no longer considered mortals. If one were to challenge astral reaching realm experts with peak late clasping Yuan realm cultivation base, there might still be some people who could do it. However, after reaching peak late astral reaching realm, the chance of challenging Sea of Soul realm experts was infinitely close to zero. The number of geniuses in the southern sector could be counted on one's fingers, which included South Rudra region, Thunder region, Misty Snow region, Wavy Cloud region, and other 8 regions. Adding up all the geniuses in the 8 regions, they could be counted on one's fingers. On average, there wouldn't even be one person in each region. Moreover, the top 5 geniuses were basically all in the Thunder region, other regions, and the Thunder Princess was one of them. So, he was waiting for Ghost Moon Spirit Warrior. Murong Qingqing seemed to have understood something. Yi Chen had waited until he reached peak late astral reaching realm before leaving the 3-Yin city. He must have guessed that he would have a battle with Ghost Moon Spirit Warrior. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in such a hurry to make a breakthrough. The 3's gazes fell on Ghost Moon Spirit Warrior, wanting to see his reaction. The latter's face twitched a bit, and the gloomy killing intent could be felt from several li away. The lush forest below rapidly withered with him as the center, igniting a pale white flame. There is only a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Can I take your attitude as arrogance? Ghost Moon Spirit Warrior sneered, unfortunately, arrogant geniuses will fall sooner or later. Just like a shooting star in the night sky, no matter how bright it is, it will only last for an instant. A shooting star is short, but it can leave you with an eternal painful memory. You can give it a try. Yi Chen's eyebrows slightly swelled. At this moment it was time to go all out. He couldn't hold anything back anymore. He also wanted to know how his strongest sword intent would perform. How arrogant. Since you're unwilling to do it yourself, I'll personally break your limbs and shatter your tongue. Let's see if you're as arrogant as you are now. Ghost Moon's spiritualist grinned, revealing his sharp teeth with a bone-piercing chill. Seeing that the two were about to exchange blows, Duan Ling and Wang Tong felt that it was not safe enough, so they backed out a couple more miles. Sea of Souls realm warriors were not astral-reaching realm warriors, and their destructive power was shocking, as well as the ability to change the terrain. Right then, Wang Tong looked at Yi Chen with a worried expression. Although he did not know where Yi Chen got his confidence from, he had heard about the title of Ghost Moon Spirit Warrior before, and he knew that he was not some fake warrior. Wanting to beat him with a cultivation of peak-level late astral reaching realm would be almost impossible. Duan Lingyun sneered. It was indeed a pity that he could not kill Yi Chen with his own hands, but he knew that a dead martial genius would no longer be a martial genius. Only by staying alive would one have the chance to reach the top. Who? The air next to Wang Tong twisted, and Murong Qingqing appeared there. Miss Murong, aren't you worried? Wang Tong asked. Murong Qingqing said, I have seen a lot of miracles from him. He is not the kind of person who can't see the situation clearly. In fact, he is more cautious than anyone else. More cautious than anyone else? Wang Tong was still suspicious. Pap. The air under his feet seemed to have turned into a huge sphere, exploding violently. Ghost Moon leaned his body forward as he opened his right hand, grabbing toward Yi Chen. A huge ghost hand with a hint of green appeared in the air, covering the whole sky and even the space where Yi Chen was standing. Brat, it is too late to regret now. Die. The ghost hand closed up, and the surrounding mountains cracked. Yi Chen's whole body fell into a completely dark world, looking like he was about to be squeezed into a meat paste by the ghost hand. Duan Lingyun laughed viciously, as if he could already see Yi Chen's miserable face. Green lotus reaching the sky. A muffled sound came out from the ghost hand, carrying a monstrous sword intent into everyone's ears. In the next second, the green sword light was like a towering tree that took root in the ghost hand. It instantly expanded from a seed to a height of hundreds of meters, breaking the ghost hand and tearing the ghost hand's aura apart. What? He broke my cage ghost hand in one go. Ghost Moon's pupils shrank. He was not surprised that he couldn't kill Yi Chen in one move, but it was hard for him to accept that it was broken in one move. His face was a little red. Breaking through the ghost hand's restraint, Yi Chen was thousands of meters high in the sky. He held the greenwood sword with both hands and slashed down from the sky. A terrifying scene occurred. The sword light, which was branded with the green lotus, was connected to the greenwood sword. It was hundreds of meters long and tens of meters wide. It fell from the sky with a momentum that could split the heaven and earth and slashed the chaos. It fiercely fell on the top of Ghost Moon's head. Before the sword light arrived, the mountain below Ghost Moon's head cracked open. It was so dark that one couldn't see the bottom. Sword soul level sword intent. Ghost Moon was quite shocked. Cultivation was divided into different levels, and so were sword intents. Before one formed a sword soul, it would be called sword intent. After forming a sword soul, it would be a sword soul level sword intent. He did not know if Yi Chen had formed a sword soul or not, but this sword intent was definitely a sword soul level sword intent. He had once encountered a Sea of Souls realm sword artist, and that person's sword intent seemed to be even weaker than Yi Chen's. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant in front of me. So, your sword intent has reached this level. But, if you think that you can compete with me with a sword soul level sword intent, then you are very wrong. Ghost Moon yelled as he crossed his arms and tore them apart. His huge sharp ghost claws blocked the sword light. Try it and you will know. His body slightly tilted, Yi Chen held the sword hilt with his left hand and changed his right hand to a reverse grip. He then slashed down. Chin. The sword light was connected with the greenwood sword. As the greenwood sword slashed down, so did the sword light. The two ghost claws were cut in half like they had been cut by a saw. At that critical moment, a pair of claw gloves appeared on Ghost Moon's hands, which barely managed to catch the sword light. Bright sparks were brought up. Top-rank attacking weapon. Yi Chen sighed. If his opponent did not have a top-rank weapon, he thought that he might have a chance to beat him. But now, the difficulty had doubled. It was not impossible for him to get the upper hand, but it would be impossible for him to beat him. Of course, it was still because he had hidden attacks. Without them, he would not even be able to compete with Ghost Moon. Wang Tong gasped. In that battle, Yi Chen had actually gotten the upper hand, which had completely overturned everything he knew. But, it seemed like it would end here. Ghost Moon was a Sea of Souls realm warrior himself, and he also had a top-rank weapon. There was no way he could beat him. I wonder what other tricks you have up your sleeves. Murong Qingcheng frowned slightly. The battling power of Sea of Souls realm warriors could be divided into a couple of levels on the surface, but there were even more hidden levels. For example, whether or not a top-rank weapon was a huge difference. Ghost Moon was the great master of a rank 6 martial institution in the Wavy Cloud region, so he naturally would not lack top-rank weapons. She believed that Yi Chen must have thought of this, but as for what kind of tricks he had up his sleeves, she did not know. With the claw gloves on his hands, Ghost Moon was angry out of embarrassment. It was not because of anything else, but because he had been forced to use a top-rank weapon to block out the attack. Although part of it was because he had underestimated Yi Chen and did not use all of his power, he was still a Sea of Souls realm warrior. Very good. You have successfully pissed me off. My next attack will kill you for sure. With a top-rank attacking weapon, if he still could not kill Yi Chen, then he would really be ashamed. But of course, Ghost Moon did not think that Yi Chen would be able to escape this attack. 100 Ghost Thousand Kill. The pitch-black claw glove burst out a breathtaking black light. As Ghost Moon waved his hand, countless claw shadows filled the sky, attacking towards Yi Chen one after another. Wherever the claw shadows went, the space started to vibrate intensely, layer upon layer, blurring the scene. Pooh! A mountain nearby exploded, sending dust into the sky. In this chaotic environment, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. He put his greenwood sword back into its scabbard and opened his palm, holding the 3 sword handles together. His green lotus Shen Yuan poured into the scabbard through his palm, connecting the 3 swords together in a special pattern. Ting! A sword sound pierced through the sky. Murong Qingcheng, Duan Lingyun, and Wang Tong could feel the hair on their bodies standing up. Right then, the sword intent and sword aura that exploded from Yi Chen's body had perfectly fused together. The whole world seemed to have turned into a sword. The mountain was the sword, the tree was the sword, the grass was the sword, and the water was also the sword. Right after that, a shocking sword light appeared, making the whole world lose its color. 3 swords combined into one. Yi Chen took out 3 swords at once, the greenwood sword, the thunder sword, and the destruction sword. The 3 swords were connected by Shen Yuan, causing their power to increase drastically, reaching the level of top-rank attacking swords. Under the amplification of the 3 swords combined into one, Yi Chen's sword intent and sword aura naturally blended together. The surrounding environment was affected by the sword intent and aura, becoming extremely sharp. Even a small stone could kill. Even a 300-meter-tall waterfall was drawn over by the sword intent, turning into a huge crystal-clear sword that floated behind Yi Chen's head. Kill! With a wave of the sword, the sky-covering claw shadows exploded one by one. At the same time, the huge sword that the waterfall had turned into also shot toward Ghost Moon. Impossible! Even if he has an upper-rank attacking weapon, it can't have this kind of power. Ghost Moon was shocked. Before, he had only used 60% of his power, and now that he had an upper-rank attacking weapon and his battling power had increased to 80 or 90%, he still couldn't do anything to his opponent. All of a sudden, his momentum suffered a huge blow, and he wondered if his eyes were playing tricks on him. There are a lot of impossible things in the world. You still don't have the power to make me feel helpless. Now, take 1 sword attack from me. With the 3 swords combined into one, Yi Chen threw out a second sword attack, and the powerful sword chi cut down dozens of mountains. Upon hearing that, Ghost Moon's face took on a ghastly expression. His face turned black, and his long and narrow eyes were bloodshot. A frightening and eerie aura soared into the sky, and as his robe fluttered, he looked like a devil standing in the human world, causing one to be frightened. Ignorant little bastard, you think you can make me regret my words and actions with this little power? You overestimate yourself, and you are too ignorant. At the same time, a white ghost fire ignited on Ghost Moon's body, and the ghost fire gathered into the shape of a skull. Even under the sun, it did not feel hot at all. Instead, there was only endless coldness and horror that could burn all spirits. Boom! With a strike of his palm, ghostly wails and wolf howls could be heard. The pale ghost fire flooded the sky, and one could vaguely see the reflection of countless skulls on the surface of the ghost fire, opening their mouths and roaring. How stupid, to actually completely anger Elder Ghost Moon. If I don't anger him, I will be killed at most, but if I anger him, I won't be able to die even if I want to. The feeling of having my spirit extracted and my soul devoured by a ghost is not a good feeling. Duan Lingyun knew Ghost Moon's background very well, and a cruel sneer appeared on his face. Chapter 422. An attack that erodes the mind. I'll let you see what the all-destroying destruction sword Dao will is. Yi Chen had 3 great sword intents. The main one was the Immortal sword intent, and the branches were the destruction and slaughter sword intents. The immortal sword intent was the most powerful one, which made it unbreakable and unbreakable. Meanwhile, the destruction and slaughter were pure killing intents, which were more advantageous in terms of attacking. Especially the destruction one, which was slightly more powerful than the slaughter one. With the enhancement of the destruction sword intent, Yi Chen did not try to dodge at all. He threw out a sword attack, and that slightly surreal sword chi was like a sharp chi flow, clashing with the pale ghost fire. Boom! 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 The two were like water and fire, neither giving way to the other. They continued to accumulate power and attack, trying to drown each other. Within a blink of an eye, the two had been destroyed at the same time. It was not that Yi Chen's destruction sword intent was not powerful, but that Ghost Moon's secret martial art was just too strange. Using it to connect with his martial intent and his own Jin Yuan, the attack he threw out was enough to wound a Sea of Souls realm warrior at the same level. It was already very horrifying for Yi Chen to be able to handle it. If he could break it, then even Ghost Moon would have to escape. Destruction sword intent. He has actually learned the sword intent's element. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Damn it. Ghost Moon felt like he had been slapped in the face. Yi Chen had blocked out his attacks again and again, shattering all of his words. He was about to lose his mind. He was confident that if Yi Chen's sword intent was similar to a normal Sea of Souls realm sword artist, then he would definitely be able to beat him. But, Yi Chen had somehow managed to learn the sword intent that even Sea of Souls realm sword artists could not. So powerful. Is he really an astral-reaching realm warrior? Wang Tong had been traveling around the world a lot, so there was nothing he had not seen before. But this time, he was truly shocked by Yi Chen. With his peak-level late astral-reaching realm cultivation, he was able to fight against Ghost Moon, a Sea of Souls realm warrior. It was beyond his imagination. He did not know how powerful the famous Thunder Princess was, but in his mind, she was probably at this level, perhaps even weaker. Immortal sword intent, destruction sword intent. One person with two sword intents. Murong Qingcheng knew everything about Yi Chen. In the early days, Yi Chen had the immortal sword intent. She was indeed surprised, but she didn't think it was ridiculous. Everyone had their own opportunities, it was just a matter of size. However, after having the immortal sword intent, he was able to comprehend the destruction sword intent, which was a bit ridiculous. From the ancient times until now, no one had ever possessed two sword intents. It was not because of lack of opportunities, but because no one could possess two sword intents at the same time. That would cause the soul to collapse directly, and the soul would be destroyed by the backlash of one's own sword intent. A prodigy of the sword Tao. If he could enter the life and death realm, he might be able to become the #1 sword artist throughout the ages, suppressing the ancient Sword King. In the ancient era, the Sword King couldn't become a monarch not because he wasn't strong enough, but because there could only be one monarch. After the ancient era, this rule was gradually abolished, allowing multiple monarchs to exist at the same time. Of course, it had to be said that a monarch from the same era as the ancient Sword King was truly powerful. He was actually able to suppress the Sword King and become a monarch. Miss Murong, what do you think of this battle? Wang Tong had, after all, received payment from the two, and he was very interested in the patterns on the map. Therefore, he was very concerned about Yi Chen's life and death. Murong Qingcheng pondered for a moment and said, half and half. Half and half. Wang Tong was somewhat astonished and reminded, Ghost Moon is the supreme elder of Soul Sunder sect, so he must have cultivated a profound martial skill. Even if he hasn't comprehended it to 100%, it's still not something ordinary martial skills can compare to. Murong Qingcheng nodded, that's why I said half and half. If Ghost Moon didn't cultivate a profound martial skill, he wouldn't even have half. What? Wang Tong found it hard to understand Murong Qingcheng's words. With my understanding of him, there's no way he wouldn't have made preparations. He would have certainly guessed that Ghost Moon had comprehended a profound martial skill. Murong Qingqing said slowly. At this moment, Duan Lingyun was a bit anxious. He originally thought that Ghost Moon would be able to kill Yi Chen as easily as blowing off dust. Who would have thought that the development of the situation wasn't under their control? Yi Chen's strength was absolutely terrifying among geniuses, enough to contend against the legendary Thunder Princess. Before the auction, his cultivation base was late astral reaching realm, and now he's at the peak. If I had known earlier, I would have dealt with him in 3 Yin City, even if I had to bear the wrath of 3 Yin City Lord. Seeing Yi Chen's progress, Duan Lingyun was extremely regretful. He didn't make a move in 3 Yin City because, although 3 Yin City didn't forbid fighting, it was under the premise that it wouldn't cause too much damage. Yi Chen wasn't a persimmon in their hands. If they wanted to kill him, the aftermath of the battle could destroy dozens of streets, and perhaps even more. Once the city lord was enraged, although he wouldn't kill him, he might be heavily injured, unable to recover for 3 to 5 years. If the city lord was in a bad mood, being killed would be quite normal. Others might be afraid of Soul Sunder sect, but 3 Yin City didn't. At most, they would give some face. Very good. You actually forced me to this extent. Ghost Moon's expression became extremely grave. In any case, Yi Chen's strength had already made him feel a trace of threat. If he didn't go all out, he would very likely be defeated. This wasn't a situation he wanted to see. With his sleeves fluttering in the wind, Yi Chen was like a peerless sword hovering in the horizon. His whole body was emitting a sharp aura. Under the influence of his aura, the gale was like a sword, and the dense sword chi locked onto Ghost Moon. Hearing him, Yi Chen said indifferently, I know you've comprehended profound martial skills. Display them. Otherwise, you're doomed to return in a sorry state. Humph. Since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll help you. The deathly white ghost flames on Ghost Moon's body burned increasingly brighter. As he got closer, he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. It wasn't just a chill on his body, but also on his soul. Buzz. The space trembled. Under everyone's gaze, Ghost Moon's hands moved downwards and joined together in a strange and demonic posture. He quickly formed a seal. As he formed the seal, the space rippled. A ferocious ghost head formed from the deathly white ghost flames was formed. The ferocious ghost's face was long and narrow, and its chin was sharp. Its eyes and mouth were 3 black holes. It was pitch black inside, as if it could devour a person's soul. Vaguely, everyone seemed to hear a sinister laughter. Profound martial skill. Ha! He's dead for sure. Duan Lingyun recognized the profound martial skill that Ghost Moon's spirit cultivator was using. He was confident that Yi Chen wouldn't be able to make a comeback. After forming the seal, Ghost Moon's spirit cultivator roared. Both of his hands maintained the posture of forming the final seal and pressed towards Yi Chen's body. Yin curse. Silently, the ferocious ghost's head was like an imprint on a seal. Wherever it went, the air melted and the wind stopped. It's actually the Yin profound. Murong Qingqing had seen a lot of things, so she could tell what kind of profound was used to activate the Yin spell. Among the profound, the most common ones were the natural element profound, such as the wind profound, gold profound, wood profound, etc. The rarer ones would be the slow profound and the cloud profound. There were also some even rarer ones, such as the yin-yang profound and the chaos profound. As the yin profound, this kind of profound focused on mental attacks, and was very mysterious. If the warrior was not careful enough, he or she would be doomed forever. Yi Chen didn't dare to underestimate Ghost Moon's profound martial skill. There were many profound mysteries in the world, and there were many that restrained each other. However, when he saw Ghost Moon's profound martial skill being used, a smile appeared on his face. The yin and yang profound was indeed very powerful. However, once they were separated, it might not be able to gain the upper hand. Unfortunately, his thunder mentality slightly suppressed the Yin attribute. Although the two were not on the same level, the gap was closed. Sky Thunder Cut. Holding the sword with both hands, Yi Chen stepped forward and accurately chopped the ferocious ghost's head. A woo! The ferocious ghost's howl was heard. Murong Qingcheng, Duan Lingyun, and Wang Tong stepped back again and again to avoid spiritual attacks. Even so, Duan Lingyun's face was still very pale, while Wang Tong directly puked out a blood mist, looking very dispirited. However, Murong Qingcheng's expression didn't change at all. Her eyes flashed with a strange black light. Crackling sounds could be heard as the bright thunder light quickly consumed the ferocious ghost's Yuan Qi. The spiritual attack contained in it was also cancelled out by the destruction sword intent. A few mountain peaks that were far away were even shattered. The mountain tops flew up into the sky and exploded instantly. Bastard, you actually blocked my Yin curse. Is that a perfect peak Earth Realm sword move? Ghost Moon's spirit warrior seemed to have noticed something, and his expression turned ugly. His Yin curse was created by a Sea of Soul Realm expert of the Soul Sunder martial school hundreds of years ago. In the few years since he became a Sea of Soul Realm expert, he had already cultivated it to 30% completion, which was already extremely difficult. It should be known that things belonging to others would always belong to others. Comprehending it would be twice as difficult. If he were at astral reaching realm, with his comprehensive ability, he might not be able to accomplish this even after spending 10 years. However, even his 30% Yin curse was blocked by Yi Chen. Moreover, the latter's sword move was clearly a perfect peak Earth Realm sword move, only a step away from profound sense martial skill. In terms of power, it was equivalent to 20 to 30% of a profound sense martial skill. To be able to comprehend a top Earth Realm martial skill to perfection at astral reaching realm. Such a genius was frightening just by thinking about it. At least, Ghost Moon's spirit warrior didn't even have a single top Earth Realm martial skill to perfection. The Yin profound focuses on mental attacks, which are much weaker than physical attacks. I have 3 great sword intents, so as long as the gap is not too big, mental attacks will not work on me. That little bit of physical attack is actually weaker than my Sky Thunder Cut. Originally, a 30% profound sense martial skill would be slightly more powerful than Yi Chen's Sky Thunder Cut. Unfortunately, the Yin curse, which focused on mental attacks, could not pose an effective threat to Yi Chen. Cut. Performing his sword steps, Yi Chen's whole body was like a sharp sword, piercing through the sky, bringing along a sharp sword chi as he attacked toward Ghost Moon's spirit warrior. Ding! Ghost Moon's spirit warrior backed out in embarrassment, blocking out Yi Chen's attack. All of a sudden, Yi Chen's body turned, using his body as a sword, performing a sword art. He appeared behind Ghost Moon's spirit warrior within a second, then waved out a heavy sword attack. Not good. What kind of step art is this? Ghost Moon's spirit warrior had never seen such a sharp step art before. Yi Chen could even use his body as a sword, performing a sword art with his body. It was absolutely unimaginable, and it was so unconstrained that it made his scalp go numb. What kind of sword artist was the scariest? Of course, it was the sword artist who did not play by the rules. You want to hurt me? Dream on. Activating his Jin Yuan, a 3-colored light cover appeared on Ghost Moon's body, bouncing off Yi Chen's attack. A top-ranked defensive artifact, indeed. Yi Chen squeezed his eyes, performing his Sky Thunder Cut for the second sword attack, leaving a sword mark on the 3-colored light cover. Chapter 423. The 3-colored light cover was not broken yet, but the cutting power of the Sky Thunder Cut had forced Ghost Moon to back out continuously, leaving behind a 3-colored mark in the air. Damn it! Yin curse. Area kill. His face turned green and red as he took the opportunity to increase the distance between them. He formed a spell with one hand and performed his profound sense martial art Yin curse continuously, shooting out light marks one after another. Immortal Guide. Yi Chen performed his sword steps, his body traveling between the gaps of the Yin curse. That sharp sword chi formed automatically, following Yi Chen's sword aura as it attacked toward Ghost Moon. Although Ghost Moon's battling power was at the same level as Yi Chen, he was still weaker than Yi Chen in terms of battling techniques. In fact, if it were another Sea of Souls realm warrior, they might not be able to beat Yi Chen in terms of battling techniques. The sword steps that Yi Chen had learned from the three great sword arts were extremely mysterious. He used his own body as a sword and performed sword arts with his body, which was something that had never been seen before. If the sword steps were forcibly divided into ranks, it would definitely be beyond the top rank Earth Realm step arts, which were equivalent to 50% of the profound sense step arts. Shoo! 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 Taking one step to the east and one to the west, Yi Chen's step arts were just like his sword arts. They were unrestrained and unstoppable, forcing Ghost Moon to back out continuously with cold sweat dripping down his forehead. No, this brat's step arts are unimaginable. If I continue to fight like this, I will lose all of my face. Ghost Moon's mind was still intact. He knew that no matter what, he would definitely lose his face today. But, there were different degrees of it. If he continued to fight, it would only make him lose more face. Therefore, no matter how angry he was, he had to leave first. With that thought in mind, Ghost Moon pushed his Jin Yuan and jumped out, appearing dozens of miles away. Brat, I will spare your life today. When we meet again in the future, I will make sure your blood splashes everywhere. After throwing down those words, Ghost Moon used his Jin Yuan and dragged Duan Lingyan away. After dozens of blinks, they disappeared without a trace. Who? Waiting until Ghost Moon left, Yi Chen let out a long breath. It was his first time battling against a Sea of Souls realm warrior, so it would be a lie to say that he was not nervous. But of course, he was more excited than anything else. It was the kind of excitement of being able to use all of his power and surpass his own limits. For him, normal extreme astral reaching realm warriors and unbeatable warriors would not be able to interest him at all. I've learned a lot from this fight, and I've gained a clear understanding of my own strength. Ghost Moon was an early Sea of Souls realm warrior. His top-rank Earth realm martial arts had not been trained to completion, but he had two top-rank great weapons, one for offense and one for defense. His profound sense martial art had been trained to 30%. All in all, he was more or less a mid-level warrior. He was not too powerful, but not too weak either. In the future, if he ran into an enemy Sea of Souls realm warrior, he would be able to compete with Ghost Moon. Then, he would know who was stronger and who was weaker. Mr. Yi, you have indeed opened my eyes. This is my first time seeing an astral reaching realm warrior being able to fight evenly with a Sea of Souls realm warrior. I think you might even be able to suppress him. Wang Tong's face had regained some color as he waved his robe and flew over. Putting his sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen said, "It was just luck. If it were other Sea of Souls realm warriors, it would be impressive if I could stay undefeated." Wang Tong laughed, "Mr. Yi, you are being too humble. Not to mention the others, there are only a few martial geniuses who could compete with Sea of Souls realm warriors in the whole South region. In other words, Mr. Yi is at least one of the top 10 martial geniuses in the whole region." Yeah, Mr. Wang is right. Speaking of which, it is all thanks to Yi Chen that the competitive atmosphere in our South Rudra region has been brought up. Murong Qingqing nodded to show her agreement. Yi Chen touched his nose and said to Murong Qingqing, "Murong, I am afraid you have not used your real power even once, right?" When he was battling with Ghost Moon, even Duan Lingyun could not handle the aftermath of the Sky Thunder Cut and the Yin spell, but Murong Qingqing seemed to be fine. Combined with Murong Qingqing's mysterious and calm demeanor, Yi Chen had a feeling that she was hiding a deeper level of power. Perhaps. Murong Qingqing knew that she could not hide it from Yi Chen completely, so she did not say anything definite. After the storm had settled down, the three continued on their journey. Rising Sun Mountain. Right then, there were a lot of people who were here to explore the secret. When the auction had just ended, there were a lot of people who knew about the Undying Body map. A lot of them were willing to pay a high price for a copy of the map, since it was not that hard to copy a map. Therefore, the 300 maps had turned into more than 1,000, and it was still growing. As for the people who were here to explore the secret, there were more than 1,000 of them. With Wang Tong leading the way, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing soon found the mountain where the rank 11 Beast King Blue Light Chicken used to stay. The mountain had been burnt and crystallized. Even after countless years, it had not completely decayed. The Blue Light Chicken was a rank 11 Beast King. Although its martial will had disappeared, the mountain that had been refined by the Beast Yuan was extremely sturdy. Even astral-reaching realm warriors would not be able to destroy it. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors would not want to destroy such a valuable research mountain. Wang Tong introduced the Scorched Mountain as he walked deeper into the mountain. Soon, the three arrived at a less populated area. Yi Chen quietly pushed his soul power and spread it out. Soon, he found a painting on the wall of the mountain. Walking in front of the painting, Murong Qingqing said, "It seems like the first pattern on the map is indeed this mountain in the Chaoyang Mountain." In the eyes of the three of them, there was a ferocious-looking, glowing chicken-like beast carved on the wall. Underneath the feet of the beast was a cave, and inside the cave was a roaring white skull, which was the second pattern on the map. In front of the chicken-like beast, there was a sun in the sky, and around the sun were small dots, like a desert. Yi Chen thought of something as he took out the map. After opening it, he realized that the positions of the three on the wall were exactly the same as on the map. The starting point was the rooster pattern, and the bottom right corner of the rooster was the skull pattern. After reaching the fifth pattern, it started to get higher and higher, and the 12th sun pattern was right above the rooster. "I see." Yi Chen looked pensive. He took out a pen and paper, shrinking the scale of the pattern on the wall and drawing it on the paper. There was no end point on the map, but he could draw a better map with the help of the wall or something else. The map in his hand was only for reference. Leaving the Chaoyang Mountain, the three walked towards the second pattern on the map. According to Wang Tong's conjecture, the second pattern represented 3 places. One was the White Bone Mountain, one was the burial ground, and the last one was the Skull Cave. However, according to the mural, the skulls were in the caves, so the skull pattern represented the Skull Cave. As expected, the three of them also found a wall in a hidden corner of the Skull Cave. This wall had been eroded by time, and had long become blurred. Fortunately, Yi Chen's soul power could sense what was carved on the wall. It was a kind of deep observation. After the Skull Cave was the Toad River. There was a secret passage at the bottom of the river, which was impervious to water and fire. There were also simple and unadorned wall paintings that had been passed down to this day. As for the fourth pattern, the difficulty began to increase. 2 circles and 1 square formed a strange pattern. Wang Tong pondered for half a day before setting his target on the extreme Yin region's 2 forms ridge. The three's luck was pretty good, as the 2 forms ridge was the place represented by the 4th pattern. 5th pattern. 6th pattern. 7th pattern. The 11th pattern. Within half a month, the three had found 11 wall paintings, and soon arrived at the 12th destination, Golden Desert. There are a lot of people here. Yi Chen raised his head and saw about 40 to 50 people. Among them, a dozen were Sea of Soul realm experts, and one was wearing a black robe. Yi Chen could feel an extremely frightening aura from his body. It was the aura of a Sea of Soul realm master. This was not the first time Yi Chen had seen this person. Back when he hadn't arrived at 3 Yin City, he, Murong Qingqing, and Duan Lingyun had seen this person rushing out from the plains. The black-robed man glanced around and revealed a faint smile, seems like auctioning the map was definitely a wise move. In just half a month, so many people have found the 12th pattern. If I give them some more time, they might be able to find the place I haven't found yet. The black-robed man was precisely Yin demon ancestor. From the 10th pattern onwards, he had been observing everyone. Being able to find the 10th and the following patterns was enough to prove that they had a deep foundation in historical research. Rumble. Right at this moment, the surface of the desert trembled. A lot of sand soared into the sky, covering the sky and sunlight. It was an extremely frightening scene. Ah! Miserable screams resounded as 3 astral-reaching experts were swallowed by something, disappearing into the desert without a trace. Panic spread. Apart from Sea of Soul Realm experts, everyone was nervous. Rumble. Another wave of sand shot up, and a huge mouth appeared under the ground. Inside the mouth were sharp teeth that looked like a blender, layered on top of each other, connected to the soft meat wall. Above this huge mouth was indeed Yi Chen, Murong Qingqing, and the other 2. Great Demon Capture. Murong Qingqing didn't wait for Yi Chen to make a move. She made a circle with both of her hands, and an invisible force field interweaved, forcibly pulling out the owner of the huge mouth. During the process, Wang Tong couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This thing was too big. Its body was more than 2,000 meters long, and the thickest part was 300 meters, while the thinnest part was still more than 100 meters. It was a super sandworm, one that could swallow an entire street. The sandworm struggled with all its might, wanting to break free from Murong Qingqing's grasp. However, Murong Qingqing was not an ordinary astral-reaching expert. With a twist of her right hand, half of the worm's body was twisted in the air. Green juices splashed everywhere, dyeing the surface of the desert. It was unknown if it was a coincidence, but after the appearance of the worm, the sky began to brighten. A ray of sunlight sprinkled down, and in the void in front of everyone, the silhouette of a broken building appeared out of nowhere. Chapter 424. The Sun Palace has appeared. Someone yelled out. Damn! These gamma sandworms are too hard to deal with. Let's kill them together first. There was still some time before the Sun Palace completely appeared. If they did not take care of those gamma sandworms with huge appetites, then at least 30% of the people here would die. As for those Sea of Souls realm warriors, they did not even bother to join in the fight. It would already be merciful of them to not kill the astral-reaching realm warriors. Since Murong Qingqing had taken care of a gamma sandworm by herself, a lot of people had come over, wanting to use Murong Qingqing's power to escape this disaster. At the edge of the desert, the sun was half exposed. The top half of the broken Sun Palace was already very clear, and only the bottom half was twisted and blurry, not completely connected with this world yet. Boom! 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 Near the Sun Palace, dozens of astral-reaching realm warriors attacked the surface of the desert together. That rich Xin Yuan flow gathered together, looking like meteors falling from the sky, continuously attacking the gamma sandworms. Of course, there were some unfortunate people who were dragged into the ground. The moment the sun completely left the Earth's surface, the outline of the Sun Divine Hall twisted for a moment, then completely revealed itself. A vast aura from ancient times spread in all directions. In the sky and on the ground, even the gamma sandworms were stunned. They quietly snuck into the depths and did not show themselves again. This is the Sun Palace. There is also a power vibration coming from a broken stone. Yi Chen's soul power was extremely powerful. The second the Sun Palace appeared, he could immediately tell that it was not a normal building. It was a magical building with a forbidden power, which was even more powerful than the Puppet Martial School's branch ruins. The entire Sun God Temple stretched for miles. There were no walls, and there were sun totem pillars everywhere. Beside the totem pillars, there were often stone warriors holding spears. The tallest building in the Sun God Temple was the main hall in the center. It was squarish and over 1,000 meters tall. Every pillar in front of the main hall was like a pillar that supported the heavens. When humans stood below them, they seemed so small and insignificant. Something is not right. My Jin Yuan is being suppressed. A man walking in front of them suddenly said. Me too. This Sun God Hall is strange. It seems to be enveloped by a layer of restrictive power. Once you enter, you will be restricted by the restrictive power. They had never encountered such a situation in the previous 11 places. Only the Sun God Temple was a bit unexpected. Of course, a portion of the people who knew did not find it strange. They had been to the Sun God Temple before, but they did not go deep because the Sun God Temple was very dangerous. Those who entered in the past rarely left alive. They all died mysteriously. You guys be careful. Yi Chen quietly released his soul power, reminding Murong Qingcheng and Wang Tong. Murong Qingcheng looked behind her and said, "It looks like we can't get out." Wang Tong explained, "The Sun Divine Hall appears once a month for 3 days. Within these 3 days, you can only enter and not leave. Only on the dawn of the 4th day will you have a quarter of an hour to leave. If you can't leave, you have to wait until next month. Since we're already here, let's take things as they come." Yi Chen didn't say anything else. He had a feeling that things wouldn't be peaceful for the next 3 days. There were a lot of buildings in the Sun God Temple, but some of the smaller ones probably wouldn't have murals. Only the more important ones would have the possibility. Just as the three were about to enter a slightly more majestic building, a scream was suddenly heard from one of the buildings nearby. It seemed like something horrifying had happened. Before that, there were 3 or 4 astral-reaching realm warriors who had entered. Wang Tong said with a low voice, "According to the rumors, there are blood-sucking monsters in the Sun God Temple. They are unkillable, and only under the sun would they not be attacked." Blood-sucking monsters. Unkillable. Afraid of the sun. Yi Chen frowned. "Mr. Wang, you stay outside. I will go in with Murong." Murong Qingcheng nodded. "Yi Chen is right. Mr. Wang, you stay. Then you guys be careful." Mr. Wang knew himself well. He knew that his power would not be of much use, and might even drag them down. Entering the building, Yi Chen immediately sensed a wave of cold power. It was completely different from the warm aura outside. It was hard to imagine that this was the inside of the Sun God Temple. There are murals here. Yi Chen soon found a wall. There were a lot of carvings on it. Because of the restrictive power, his soul power could not sense it too clearly. He would have to walk over and look with his eyes. Pap. Pap. In the cold environment, the two's footsteps seemed to be coming from another world. There is nothing about the map. After observing for a while, Yi Chen did not find any weird patterns on the wall. It was all stories and stories. Just as the two turned around, a black shadow flew down from above, shining with a sharp cold light. Chin. Yi Chen did not panic at all. He pulled out his sword with his right hand and threw out 3 sword attacks. The first one brought out a bright spark, the second brought out a stream of blood, and the third stabbed right in the center. Yeah. Not dead yet. After the 3 sword attacks, the black shadow was blown into the air, trying to disappear into the darkness. Sky Demon Capture. Murong Qingcheng was already prepared. She reached out with her right hand and pulled back. The black shadow was caught off guard and was pulled down to the ground, making a huge sound. Caw. A sharp roar was heard. The ear-piercing sound wave was everywhere. Even Murong Qingcheng and Yi Chen had to take 3 steps back. Shoo! Seizing the opportunity, the black shadow disappeared. Unkillable blood-sucking monster, interesting. Yi Chen did not care. He shook off the blood on his long sword and put it back into its scabbard. Murong Qingcheng said, "Arjun Yuan has been suppressed by 90%, leaving us with less than 40% of our battling power. This undying monster is almost at the level of a normal astral reaching realm warrior. Battling power was a comprehensive power, which included Jin Yuan, martial will, and physical power. For astral reaching realm warriors, Jin Yuan was the most important, making up about 80% of their battling power. Therefore, the suppression of Jin Yuan would have a huge impact on their battling power. This is a bit tricky. I wonder how many of these undying monsters there are. Yi Chen had just fought with the undying monster once. The latter's battling technique was not that powerful, but its speed was extremely fast. Under such circumstances, most of the astral reaching realm warriors would be in danger. Outside, Wang Tong stood under the sun. Seeing the two come out, he let out a sigh of relief and asked, "How was it inside? Did that thing appear?" Murong Qingqing said, "It ran away." Ran away? Is there really a blood-sucking monster? Wang Tong had never seen one before, so he was hoping to be lucky. Hearing her words, he felt a chill down his spine. Yi Chen said, "Don't worry. You only need to protect yourself. We will take care of the rest." Inside a huge building in front of them, undying monster. Let's see how many times you can take damage. The one who was talking to himself was a middle-aged man with a cold face. If there were experienced people here, they would be able to tell that he was the famous Ironwood man in the Extreme Een place. His power was one level higher than the spirit warriors. Although his Jin Yuan had been suppressed a lot, after reaching the Sea of Souls realm, his body was no longer a normal body anymore. It was extremely tough, and only his physical power was horrifying. Combined with his martial will and remaining Jin Yuan, he was able to compete with extreme astral reaching realm warriors. Under his feet was a human-shaped monster. It had long legs and arms, long fangs in its mouth, and extremely sharp claws. Its skin was white and purple, looking very thick. Instead of calling it skin, it was more like a layer of cuticle. It was very muscular, where it should be skinny, but where it should be strong, it was surprisingly strong. Overall, it was a kind of monster that did not care about appearance, but focused on killing. Swoosh! Holding the dark blue iron stick in his hand, Ironwood Man stomped on the human-shaped monster's chest, creating a bloody hole there. The human-shaped monster screamed and stared at Ironwood Man crazily, showing its fangs, looking extremely horrifying. Ironwood Man frowned. His opponent's voice contained a sharp sound wave, and its super-high vibration frequency made his heart feel like exploding. He opened his mouth and waved his arm. The iron stick pierced through the human-shaped monster's throat. All of a sudden, the scream stopped, as if a duck had been choked by its neck. Still not dead. The chest had been pierced through, and the throat and spine had been broken. If it were a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior, they would have been dead by now. However, judging from the struggling power of the human-shaped monster, it was still full of energy, as if the wound it had just received was just a superficial wound. Let's see if you will die or not. The dark blue iron stick shone with a dark blue light as Ironwood Man used all of his power to attack the human-shaped monster's forehead. Boom! White and red blasted out, looking extremely bloody. The humanoid monster's body twitched a couple of times after being hit in the head, then it stopped moving. I thought it was an undying body. So disappointing. Throwing down the monster's body, Ironwood Man turned around and walked out of the building. The number of buildings in the Sun Palace was unimaginable. Even though they had only been looking at the big buildings to find something useful, it still took them a whole day to reach the main palace. As the sun set, the horrifying atmosphere started to cover everyone's heart. It is getting dark. Should we enter the main palace? Of course. The earlier we find the painting, the earlier we can relax. Then, we will only need to stay inside a small building, and we will be able to get through the rest of the 2 days safely. Indeed. There is no difference between going in during the day or at night, since the sunlight will not be able to shine in there anyway. On the plaza in front of the main palace, the surviving people were in groups of 3 to 5, and groups of 5 to 6. Only one Sea of Souls realm warrior who was still alive did not want to form a group, so he was alone. During this time, people would enter the Sun Palace from time to join the exploration team, which kept the number of people between 50 to 100. Let's go in. Yi Chen looked at Murong Qingcheng and Wantong. Murong Qingcheng looked back from the darkness in the main palace and nodded. As for Wantong, he was holding a shield in one hand and a great blade in the other. As they were talking, a bright moon appeared in the night sky, and a shrill roar was heard. Following the direction of the sound, Ironwood Man frowned. He realized that it was the building where he had killed the undying monster. Perhaps, the undying monster is still alive. Chapter 425. There are undead monsters here as well. I can't hold on any longer. Damn. These monsters are unkillable. They are born to be invincible. Let's join hands. Indeed. Only by joining hands can we survive. Originally, there were more than 100 astral-reaching realm warriors in the main palace, and there were only 7 or 8 of them at most. However, under the attacks of the undying beasts, they gradually gathered together, forming a well-organized team with a clear division of labor. Once the team was formed, the success rate of the undead monsters' attacks dropped drastically. Under hundreds of mental power scans, there would always be a few people who would discover the undead monsters' attacks. In the deeper part of the main palace, Yi Chen and the other two were fighting as they walked. Shoo! Without stopping, Yi Chen waved his sword, and with every step he took, an undead monster's throat would be cut open. Dark red blood spilled everywhere. Murong Qingcheng's Sky Demon Great Art was undoubtedly the nemesis of the undead monsters. Within the range of the Sky Demon power field, not a single undead monster could get close to her. They would all be discovered immediately, and their bodies would be twisted by the power field and blown away. It seems like I only need to protect myself. Wang Tong thought that something dangerous was waiting for him, but he realized that he was extremely safe between the two. In front of him, there was Yi Chen with his horrifying sword art, and behind him, there was Murong Qingcheng cleaning up the undead monsters. The only thing he could do was to be extra careful. Caw! All of a sudden, a lot of undead monsters roared, and the sound wave attacked from all directions. At the same time, 7 or 8 undead monsters attacked the 3 from different angles. Activate your Jin Yuan to protect your heart and head. Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng had fought against the undead monsters before, so they knew how powerful this sound wave was. They hurried to remind Wang Tong, who did not know what was going on. Hearing him, Wang Tong bit his tongue and did as Yi Chen said. Fast 4 sword strikes. Switching the thunder sword to the destruction sword, Yi Chen shook his wrist, and the sword light jumped out. The 4 undead monsters closest to him were blown away. One had its arm cut off, the second had its waist cut off, the third had half of its head cut off, and the fourth had its heart pierced through. Sky Devil's Palm, Heavenly Rebuke. Behind them, Murong Qingcheng's left and right hands struck out like butterflies flying through flowers. The 3 undead monsters seemed to be repelled by this space. They came and went quickly, bouncing back like lightning. A large amount of internal organs spurted out from their mouths. It was extremely bloody. Yi Chen glanced at Murong Qingcheng, silently praising her for becoming more skillful. According to the characteristics of the Great Sky Demon technique, as long as she could continue to improve, she would be able to completely subdue anyone who was as strong as her. When gravity and repulsion were developed to the profound level, it would be extremely terrifying. The 3 were moving at a very fast speed, but no matter how fast they would not be able to outrun some of the more powerful Sea of Souls realm warriors. Wherever they went, the undead beasts that were rushing at them would be blown away immediately, they would not even be able to get close to them. Of course, there were some Sea of Souls realm warriors who were slower than Yi Chen and the other 2, since they were all Soul Realm warriors who were not as powerful as Ghost Moon. Bang! An undying monster exploded, and the black-robed demon ancestor walked to the wall. He revealed a faint smile and intentionally raised his voice, "There's a map here." "What? Where is it?" Hearing him, the people behind him were shocked. "Isn't this the demon ancestor?" Ironwood Man, who was not too far away from the demon ancestor, was a bit surprised. There were a lot of people who knew about the demon ancestor in the extreme place, but not many had seen him before. He came and went like a ghost, and his power was as deep as the ocean. Even among the master-level warriors, he would be above average. Before, the demon ancestor was covered in a black robe, so he did not recognize him. Hee. The demon ancestor laughed weirdly as he flew out of the main palace. He thought that the demon ancestor was going to kill him to keep his mouth shut. Outside, he might have a 10% chance of escaping. But, inside the Sun Palace, his Jin Yuan had been mostly suppressed, and there were not many ways for him to escape. If the demon ancestor wanted to kill him, it would not take him much effort. The demon ancestor does not care that I know the pattern on the map. There must be a reason. Never mind, Ironwood Man, will not kill anyone, just in case. Originally, Ironwood Man was planning to kill him to keep his mouth shut, since the fewer people who knew about his undying body, the better. But now, he had changed his mind. So what if he killed those astral-reaching realm warriors? His opponents would be Sea of Souls realm warriors, especially master-level ones who were more powerful than him. Astral-reaching realm warriors might not be able to threaten them, but they would be able to mess up the situation. You guys are lucky. After memorizing the pattern on the wall, Ironwood Man flew out of the main palace without looking back. "Mr. Yi, will they kill us to keep our mouth shut?" Wang Tong suddenly thought of something serious, so he asked with a Jin Yuan message. Yi Chen said lightly, "No, and we do not have to be afraid." Outside, perhaps he would be afraid of Sea of Souls realm warriors. But, under the protection of the restrictive power, his advantage had actually increased. His sword spirit embryo had reached the critical point, and he was only one step away from the real sword spirit. His sword will had definitely reached the master level. It should be known that at the same level, the sword will would be more aggressive than the martial will, which was the advantage of a sword artist. Walking in front of the wall, Yi Chen scanned it quickly. There were 4 patterns on the wall. He had already been to the first 2, and the third one was the 13th pattern on the map. The 4th one was not on the map, which looked like an altar with 6 pillars on the edge. There was a bright light shining and a tornado roaring. There are 14 patterns on the map. Could this be the 15th one? Wang Tong thought to himself. Murong Qingqing said, "Perhaps it is the last one, which is the place we are going to." Yi Chen asked, "Elder Wang, can you tell where this pattern represents?" Elder Wang shook his head, "I am not sure yet. Wait until we go to the places represented by the 13th and 14th patterns, then we might be able to find the answer. In that case, let's get out of here first. There are more and more undead creatures here." Casually cutting off the head of an undead creature, Yi Chen said. Following the original path out of the main palace, the 3 realized that there were a lot of undead creatures outside as well. With the full moon in the sky, these undead creatures were dancing under the moonlight, looking extremely creepy and frightening. "Rock, what do you think these undead creatures are? What kind of connection do they have with the undead body?" It was the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior who spoke, and the Rock Spirit Warrior was right next to him. The latter said, "Perhaps it is the forbidden power of the Sun Palace. I saw an undead creature that looked very similar to someone I've seen before." "You are not joking, right? Those people who died in the Sun Palace all turned into undead creatures?" The Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior was shocked. "Most likely. Anyway, we need to be careful. Perhaps some of the dead Sea of Souls realm warriors will turn into undead creatures. Then, it would be troublesome. You are really a jinx. It really came. The Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior lifted up his head. Under the full moon, an undead creature with a red color all over its body swooped down. When it flew up again, it grabbed two astral-reaching realm warriors and gulped them down one by one. Their blood had been sucked clean, but it still did not seem to be satisfied. Its red eyes looked at the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior and the Rock Spirit Warrior. Come on. Who is scared of who? Although he said that the Rock Spirit Warrior was a jinx, the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior was actually not that scared of the Sea of Souls realm undead creatures. They were still alive, so how could they not deal with the dead ones? Even if they had the undead body. Boom! The first exchange of attacks ended in a tie. Rock attack. The Rock Spirit Warrior seized the opportunity and flashed his body, appearing in front of the undead creature. His fist, which was filled with the profound of earth, landed on the chest of the undead creature, making it cave in. Crack! The undead creature rolled back in the air, letting out a shrill scream. Hee hee. Die! A golden long spear condensed from Jin Yuan appeared in the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior's hand. He waved his arm and the long spear was thrown out, instantly piercing through the head of the undead creature. Right then, a beam of moonlight landed on the undead creature's body. Visible to the naked eye, the wound on the undead creature started to close up and recover. Seeing this, the two frowned. In the dark night, these creatures seemed to be almost unkillable. This undead creature could tell that the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior and the Rock Spirit Warrior were not easy to deal with, so it did not plan to attack again. In fact, if it were not for the fact that it had not sucked enough blood, its power would definitely be more powerful than the two combined. After all, in the Sun Palace, even Sea of Souls realm warriors would be suppressed, and their power would be greatly reduced. On the other hand, they were like fish in the water, having the best advantage. The only downside was that before becoming an undead creature, all the blood in its body had been sucked dry. After becoming an undead creature, its power would be extremely weak. Therefore, it instinctively wanted to suck the blood of Sea of Souls realm warriors, since only their blood could make its power increase rapidly. Its emotionless eyes turned as it noticed Yi Chen and the other two not far away. From Yi Chen and Murong Qingcheng, it could sense a powerful qi and blood, especially Murong Qingcheng. Her qi and blood were extremely powerful, which was completely different from a human's. It did not know whether she was a human or not, but all it needed was a powerful blood. Shoo! His body disappeared as the undead creature jumped toward the three. Seeing that, the Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior laughed, those two little brats and that old guy are going to have bad luck. The Rock Spirit Warrior snorted, greed is a sin. Coming here without enough power, it would not be a pity if they died. The two did not think that Yi Chen and the other two would be able to leave the Sun Palace alive, so they just watched from the side. This undead creature seems to be a lot more powerful. Yi Chen noticed that this undead creature was different from before. He squinted his eyes and the destruction sword in his hand shone with a bright light. Within a second, he had thrown out 49 sword attacks, which contained the slaughter sword intent. Shoo! 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 The sword net was everywhere, and the undead creature was blown backward with blood all over its body. Moreover, even with the moonlight healing its body, its recovery speed was still very slow. Only Yi Chen knew what was going on, since the slaughter sword intent was not something to be trifled with. The slaughter chi on it had reduced its recovery speed. If the slaughter sword intent was powerful enough, then even the undead body would be useless. As long as the slaughter chi did not dissipate, it would never be able to recover. This was the power of the attributed sword intent. Chapter 426. What? He repelled the undying monster. The smile on Yuan Gold's face froze, and his face was filled with disbelief. Rock Spirit Warrior retracted his disdain and said, an extremely powerful sword intent. It's at least at the Spirit Master level. No wonder he could repel it in one move. Sword intent at the Spirit Master level. Yuan Gold was astonished. There were 3 levels in the Sea of Soul realm, Spirit Master level, and Master level. Didn't that mean that the latter's sword intent had already surpassed the Spirit Master level? How did he train? It was simply unimaginable. Force field cut. Murong Qingqing's reaction was not slow either. She clasped her hands together, and the 2 opposite forces merged together, turning into an unstoppable cutting force field, which struck the undying monster's chest. Pang! The undying monster crashed into the wall of the building, and was bounced back by the restrictive power. Its chest was badly mutilated, and its stomach was almost cut open. Ga! The undying monster faced the sky and roared. It had thought that the 2 were soft persimmons, but who would have thought that they would be even more difficult to deal with? Especially that young sword artist in blue, who had dealt it a heavy blow without batting an eyelid. Not only was the wound unable to heal quickly, it had even lost a lot of yuan qi. Shoo! With a flicker, the undying monster left the area, unwilling to provoke Yi Chen. Oh, interesting. He can actually comprehend an attributed sword intent at the astral reaching realm. This is something that even Sea of Soul realm sword artists would have a hard time doing. Een Demon Ancestor was more observant than Rock Spirit Warrior. He himself knew a master-level sword artist, who could be called a master-level sword artist precisely because he had comprehended an attributed sword intent. Not far away, Ironwood began to pay attention to Yi Chen, thinking to himself, this kid is not simple. In terms of perception alone, I'm afraid he can be ranked in the top 5 among the geniuses of the southern sector. So powerful. Let's go over. Yi Chen's strength made a lot of astral reaching experts intentionally draw close to him. They understood that Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing might not lend a hand, but with the 2 present, the powerful undying monsters would be restrained, and their chances of survival would be greater. Regarding this, Yi Chen did not mind. Regardless of whether the other party came over or not, it would not affect him. Since it would not affect him, why would he cruelly chase them away? It was always good to leave some hope for others. Of course, this was if there was no effect. If there was an effect, Yi Chen was not a good person. He hated things that harmed others. Seeing that Yi Chen and the other 2 didn't do anything, everyone felt even more relieved as they approached. As for the other Sea of Soul realm experts, it was not that they hadn't considered them. Unfortunately, these people were not amicable. If they had a good temper, they would keep their distance. If they had a bad temper, they would berate them harshly, and there was even the possibility of them killing them. The first night passed. Before dawn, the ferocious undead monsters rushed into the buildings and hid in the darkness, waiting for the night to come again. After temporarily escaping from the danger of death, everyone started to study what the 13th pattern represented. Wang Tong pondered and said, the 13th and 14th patterns are very abstract, I can't tell what kind of patterns they are. If I really want to say, there are at least hundreds or thousands of places in the land of extreme negative energy that fit the pattern. Obviously, this is impossible, so I need to categorize these possible places and find something special and different. Give me some time. No problem. Yi Chen nodded. It was impossible to find the location represented by the pattern, otherwise, the owner of the map would not have taken it out for auction. Yi Chen did not have to think to know that before the auction, the original owner must have spent a lot of time and effort to study the map, and only made this decision when he found nothing. Yi Chen did not want to know what the original owner was thinking when he auctioned the map. All he could do was try his best. If there was no other way, then he would give up. At the dawn of the 4th day, a distorted and fuzzy tunnel appeared in front of the Sun God Palace. Following this tunnel, all the survivors flew out. After leaving the Golden Desert, Yi Chen and the other 2 stayed in the nearest Molan city. Ha! I got it. The 13th pattern is not a pattern, but an ancient character. An ancient character that disappeared in the long river of history. If you try to analyze it from the pattern, you won't know where it is in your lifetime. On the second floor of the restaurant, Wang Tong excitedly rushed into Yi Chen's room. Murong Qingqing heard the news and hurried over, asking, "What character?" Tu Shui River. Tu Shui River. How come I've never heard of it? Wang Tong explained, thousands of years ago, that Sushui River existed, but for some reason, that Sushui River gradually dried up, leaving only an underground river hidden underground. As long as we find the underground river, we can know the exact location of the Tsushui River. Wang Tong was not the only one who had analyzed the 13th pattern. Until now, there were already more than 1,000 people who had joined the search for the map of the undying body. Among these people, there were quite a few who were proficient in the history of Extreme Yin Land. Perhaps, there were a lot of people who knew some ancient characters, but there would always be some. Of course, it did not mean that these people were stronger than Yin Demon Ancestor. After all, everyone had their own blind spots. Several dozen people are heading in the same direction. Could it be that they have analyzed the 13th pattern? In Molan City, Yin Demon Ancestor sensed something, and his eyes brightened. No one knew that the 300 copies of the map had been tampered with by him. They were branded with his soul imprint. These imprints were not common to ordinary Sea of Soul Realm experts. They were more ancient and profound, something he had learned by chance. Unless one was a life and death king, no one would be able to detect the mysteries of the map. All of your efforts are for my benefit. Only I, Yin Demon Ancestor, have obtained the secret of the undying body. A confident smile appeared on Yin Demon Ancestor's face. The process of searching for the Shushui River was very smooth. The three of them first found the location of the underground river. Then, according to the pattern of the underground river, they found the specific location of the Shushui River and dug out a stone tablet from the soil. The stone tablet was also engraved with 3 patterns, which were the ancient character pattern representing the Shushui River, the 14th pattern, and the 15th altar pattern. It seems like finding the Takui River is useless. There is no information left on it. If the 14th pattern is the same, we can directly study the 15th altar pattern. Wang Tong originally wanted to find traces of the 15th pattern from the 13th and 14th patterns. However, he was disappointed. They had already seen the 3 patterns on the stele. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Since we've already come this far, we still have to go to the 14th location. Yi Chen expressed his opinion. Murong Qingqing nodded. Regarding the altar pattern, we still don't have any clues. Instead of burying ourselves in deep thought, we might as well spend some time looking for the location of the 14th pattern. I believe that the 14th location should have some special benefits. Someone is coming. Yi Chen raised his head and looked into the distance. Wang Tong said, "Should we destroy the stele?" He didn't have any illusions about the secret of the undying body. In other words, he didn't have the strength to fight for the undying body. Therefore, he hoped that Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing could obtain the secret of the undying body. Yi Chen shook his head. If we destroy the stele, we will become the target of public criticism. It doesn't matter if they know. There are no secrets on the stele anyway. The instant the 3 of them left, 3 to 4 figures appeared near the stone tablet. Soon after, even more people rushed over, including the black-robed Yin Demon Ancestor. The 3rd pattern on the stele is also the altar pattern. It seems that the altar pattern is the 15th pattern, which is also the destination of the map. Yin Demon Ancestor's mood was surging. The day of him obtaining the secret of the undying body was getting closer and closer. He suddenly felt a little regret. If he had contributed the map earlier, perhaps he would have obtained the undying body several decades ago. No matter what, only I can possess the undying body. If humans block me, I will kill them. If demons block me, I will kill them. The location of the 14th pattern. As expected, there are also no discoveries here. There are only 2 patterns. One had to admit that Wang Tong was an outstanding historian. In half a month, he had already analyzed the 14th pattern and found the location. Unfortunately, just like the Great River, there was still nothing worth studying here. The only meaning was that he had found it. No, don't you feel that this mountain is like an arrowhead? Yi Chen said. Arrowhead? Hearing this, Murong Qingcheng released her mental energy, spreading it in all directions. Soon, she discovered that the mountain was different from the rest. Looking from the sky, this small mountain looked very similar to a huge arrowhead. She was very impressed that Yi Chen could notice this. Could it be that the arrowhead is pointing to the altar? Wang Tong's mental energy wasn't as strong as Murong Qingcheng's. His figure flashed, flying high into the sky and looking down. Yi Chen asked, "Is there anything special about the arrowhead?" Wang Tong said, "The arrowhead is pointing to the west. There are many ancient ruins in this straight line. Could it be the stone minaret?" The stone minaret was a famous ancient ruin in the land of extreme Yin. There were no treasures inside, but many experts liked to go there to comprehend. They all believed that the stone minaret contained an indescribable power that allowed them to comprehend things that were normally hard to detect. Several hundred li behind the 3, Yin demon ancestor was following closely behind. The 13th pattern was first discovered by Yi Chen's group, and the 14th pattern was also discovered by them. There was no reason for Yin demon ancestor not to follow them. I've been waiting for this moment. The heavens didn't disappoint my Yin demon ancestor. In the distance, the 3 saw the stone minaret. The stone minaret was composed of numerous stone statues. The smallest one was dozens of meters tall, while the tallest one was over 100 meters tall. These stone statues had different postures. Some were contemplating, some were gazing at the starry sky, some were meditating, some were waving their swords, and some were breathing. Not a single statue appeared superficial. There are many people here. Murong Qingcheng's beautiful eyes roamed about. In her line of sight, there were many experts sitting cross-legged before the stone statues, quietly comprehending. Among them were a few Sea of Soul realm experts. Chapter 427. Let's not beat the grass and startle the snake first. Let's move in secret. Yi Chen glanced back and discovered that, with the stone minaret as the center, there was no black mist formed by Yin Qi or Earth Qi within dozens of li. It was extremely tranquil, without any ostentation or chaos. Not long after the 3 entered the stone minaret, Yin demon ancestor followed. Stone minaret. It's actually in the stone minaret. This is troublesome. Yin demon ancestor creased his brows. There were too many experts in the stone minaret. Although he was a master-level expert, he couldn't guarantee that there were no existences that could contend against him. The stone minaret had always been a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Clenching his fist, a black aura curled around it. Yin demon ancestor's eyes scanned the surroundings. What belongs to me? It must be mine. Even further behind, Taoist Iron Wood, Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior, and Rock Spirit Warrior appeared one after another. They were quite concerned about Yi Chen and had followed him all the way. High up in the sky, an eagle was spreading its wings. This eagle wasn't a real eagle, but a condensed Zhen Yuan. Within the Zhen Yuan eagle hid a black-robed old man. The old man's bones were thick, and his arms hung down to his knees. His eagle-like gaze seemed as if it could pierce through one's soul. He was none other than Taoist-level expert Sky Eagle Old Man. His Zhen Yuan transformation ability could be said to have reached perfection. Without careful observation, it would be hard to discover that the eagle was condensed from Zhen Yuan. My age has already surpassed 270 years. In less than 30 years, I'll die of old age and turn into a pile of bones. This undying body is something I must obtain. Even if I have to face a sea of soul master, I won't hesitate. As long as I have the undying body, I'll be able to head to even more dangerous forbidden areas and ancient ruins to search for methods to increase my lifespan and cultivation base. Swish! The eagle spread its wings and dove into the clouds, flying toward the stoneman array. A month passed in a flash, and Yi Chen and the other two didn't gain anything. Stoneman Array was not like other places. There were many Sea of Soul realm experts here, and they couldn't search unscrupulously. Moreover, even if they could, they might not be able to find the slightest trace of the altar. After all, the Stoneman Array was so huge and had a mysterious power protecting it. Even Yi Chen's soul power couldn't cover such a large area. More than 10,000 meters underground. The heavens are indeed fond of my Yin demon sect. Before, I didn't know what use this stone had. Only now do I know that not only can this stone gradually sense the existence of the altar, it is also the key to opening it. 50 years of painstaking effort has finally succeeded. Everything is worth it. The Yin demon ancestor was holding a hexagram gem in his hand. The gem was sparkling and translucent, without any impurities. Resplendent rays of light seeped out of it like strands of silk. Near the Yin demon ancestor was a hexagonal altar. Each corner of the altar had a stone pillar, and at the center of the altar was a groove. The groove's size and shape were no different from the hexagram gem. This gem was obtained together with the undying body map. Originally, Yin demon ancestor did not know the usage of this gem. After reaching the Stoneman Array for a while, he unintentionally took out the hexagram gem and vaguely discovered that there was a subtle connection between the gem and the altar. Relying on this indistinct connection, Yin demon ancestor finally found the altar 10,000 meters below the Stoneman Array. His eyes landed on the edge of the altar. There were 4 ancient words written on it: Undying Altar. Undying Altar. It must be related to the undying body. That's right, this is it. Yin Demon Master was so excited that his whole body was trembling. As a Sea of Soul Realm Master, there were too few things that could excite him. Creating a new profound sense martial art was one of them, but the undying body was even more important. With a nervous heart, Yin Demon Ancestor carefully placed the hexagram gem into the groove at the center of the altar. Crack! A brilliant light surged out of the groove, locking the hexagram gem in place. Soon after, the 6 stone pillars at the corner burst out with a dazzling light. The light condensed into a beam and shot up at an unimaginable speed. The thick soil couldn't even obstruct it. Not good. Yin Demon Ancestor's face turned pale with fright. He originally wanted to obtain the secret of the undying body in secret. However, if the beam shot out of the ground, it would definitely be discovered by others. With the earth as the sky, stop for me. Yin Demon Ancestor roared. Vigorous ocean-like Jin Yuan surged within his body. His right hand seemed slow but was fast in reality. With a flip of his wrist, he pressed down with his palm. This palm strike caused the universe to reverse. Layers upon layers of profound mysteries appeared, as if the heavens were collapsing and the heavens were descending. It was as if the undying altar was trying to suppress the beam. Gotcha! The lid-like Jin Yuan sky was torn apart, but the beam's speed didn't decrease. In the blink of an eye, it shot out of the ground and into the clouds, connecting heaven and earth. What's happening? Why are there 6 beams of light shooting out of the Stoneman Array? There must be something strange. Perhaps a treasure has appeared. The people in the Stoneman Array woke up one after another and rushed toward the direction of the beam. Let's go as well. Yi Chen shot a glance at the seemingly solid beam of light. His figure flickered as he passed through the densely packed statues. Deep underground, Yin Demon Ancestor's expression changed several times. In the end, he had no choice but to accept this fact. His expression suddenly turned sinister as he inwardly said, "Whoever dares to stop me, don't blame me for a massacre." Only I, Een Demon Ancestor, am worthy of the undying body. Rumble. Abruptly, with the 6 beams of light as their trajectory, the undying altar rapidly rose up like an elevator, breaking out of the ground and floating in the air. It's an altar. Murong Qingqing blurted out. Yi Chen said suspiciously, there's someone down there. With a bang, the ground not far away split open, and the black-robed Een Demon Ancestor appeared before everyone's eyes. His master-level aura erupted without any concealment. Irrelevant people, get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Een Demon Ancestor threatened everyone the moment he appeared. Een Demon Ancestor, you're too overbearing. As the saying goes, everyone who sees a treasure has a share. You don't have the qualifications to chase us all away. The one who spoke was Taoist Black Snake, who had participated in the 3 Een City auction. Taoist Black Snake, do you want to become a dead snake? Een Demon Ancestor waved his arm, and a grayish-black chi violently revolved, turning into a sawtooth blade that shot towards Taoist Black Snake. Sky Snake Transformation. Taoist Black Snake didn't expect Een Demon Ancestor to make a move just like that. After all, although his strength was inferior to a master-level expert, he was still a Taoist-level expert. Dealing with him wouldn't be a matter of 2 or 3 moves. From the looks of it, this altar was very likely to be the key to obtaining the undying body. As he thought of this, his heart turned fiery. He used his self-created profound martial skill and faced the sawtooth blade. Dong! The space fluctuated violently. Within several li, the weaker astral-reaching experts were all sent flying, unable to even approach. Careful! Yi Chen operated his Zhen Yuan and protected Wang Tong. At this moment, Wang Tong suddenly said, Young Master Yi, Miss Murong, the altar has already appeared. The rest is up to you. I wish you all the best. After saying these words, he lightly tapped the ground and floated backwards. In a few blinks of an eye, he disappeared from Yi Chen's line of sight. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing exchanged a glance and lightly nodded. Taoist Black Snake was, in the end, much weaker than Een Demon Ancestor. His complexion was pale as he was blasted away, suffering some light injuries. Een Demon Ancestor looked around and coldly snorted, I'll say it one more time. All of you get lost. I, Een Demon Ancestor, will not advise you a second time. Hearing these words, everyone turned silent. A sea of Soul Master's strength was too powerful. Even 3 to 5 Taoist-level experts might not be his opponent. Moreover, Een Demon Ancestor was a first-rate expert even among master-level experts. His strength was not below that of a famous Sea of Soul Master. If he were to be angered, it would be hard to say whether he wouldn't fall. However, they were truly unwilling to give up like this, especially for the Sea of Soul Realm experts who had participated in the 3 Een City auction. Taoist Black Snake, Old Man Sky Eagle, I think you two aren't willing to let Een Demon Ancestor have his way. How about we join hands? Taoist Ironwood sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to Taoist Black Snake and Old Man Sky Eagle, then secretly contacted Rock Spirit Warrior, Yuan Gold Spirit Warrior, and 3 Spirit Warrior. Taoist Black Snake shot a glance at Taoist Ironwood, alright, we'll stand together. Whoever dares to make me cannon fodder, I'll make him die without a burial ground. Hee, now is not the time. You don't need to worry about this. Shwa 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 shwa, almost at the same time, 7 or 8 Sea of Soul Realm experts led by Taoist Black Snake, Taoist Ironwood, and Old Man Sky Eagle walked out and faced Een Demon Ancestor. Old Man Sky Eagle sinisterly said, Een Demon Ancestor, your strength is indeed higher than ours, but you can't let us leave for nothing. If my guess is correct, the map was taken out by you. In that case, don't blame us for interfering. Taoist Ironwood cautiously looked at Een Demon Ancestor. Een Demon Ancestor laughed in extreme anger, good. You think you can deal with me by joining hands? Seems like demon ancestor, haven't made a move for a long time. You don't put me in your eyes anymore. Both sides were ready to jump at each other's throats. Many astral-reaching experts saw that the situation wasn't right and retreated from the Stoneman array. The aftermath of a battle between Sea of Soul Realm experts could easily kill them. Why the need to make such a big fuss? How about we all sit down and have a good talk? There's no need to harm our friendship. The Sea of Soul Realm experts who were comprehending the Stoneman array couldn't sit still. Although they didn't know what the altar represented, judging from the attitude of Demon Ancestor and Taoist Black Snake, they knew that it wasn't ordinary stuff. If they didn't come out, they would be letting themselves down. 1, 2, 3, 5 Sea of Soul Realm experts walked out. The one who spoke had an aura not below Demon Ancestors. Clearly, he was a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Apart from him, the other 4 were Taoist and 3 Soul Realm experts respectively. Their formation was even above Taoist Black Snake's. Master Jade River. Demon Ancestor's pupils shrank. This person was just like him, also a Sea of Soul Realm expert. He had a high attainment in the water profound, and couldn't be looked down upon. If it was Taoist Realm experts, he wouldn't care, but Master Realm experts were something he couldn't disregard. Which Master Realm expert hadn't created 2 or 3 profound martial skills? Without going all out in a battle, no one would know who was stronger. Excluding super powerful Master Realm experts, the gap between the majority of people wouldn't seem too big. At this moment, Demon Ancestor was already unable to suppress the situation. Chapter 428. The 6 beams of light on the altar connected heaven and earth like 6 resplendent heavenly pillars, dyeing the altar and its surroundings in a dreamy and illusory manner. The atmosphere in the Stoneman array under the altar froze. After a long while, Demon Ancestor's expression eased up, and a cold light flickered in his eyes. Master Jade River, why are you joining in the fun? Master Jade River was communicating with Ironwood Taoist via Zhen Yuan. After learning that the altar was the key to obtaining the undying body, he was extremely astonished. After the astonishment, he became indescribably excited as he faintly smiled. Demon Ancestor, your words are incorrect. Treasures belong to the fated. Since the altar appeared here, it means that I also have some fate with it. How can you say I'm joining in the fun? Humph. Demon Ancestor coldly snorted. He knew that letting Master Jade River leave was impossible, so he said, Master Jade River, I acknowledge your strength. However, apart from you, the others will have to scram. I think you don't want them to follow this. Master Jade River was somewhat hesitant as he glanced at Ironwood Taoist and the others. Ironwood Taoist was anxious, he knows more than any of us. Without us restraining him, the secret of the undying body will eventually fall into his hands. You're courting death. Not waiting for Ironwood Taoist to finish, Demon Ancestor was enraged. A gloomy black aura erupted as he slashed at Ironwood Taoist, even including Black Snake Taoist and Old Man Sky Eagle. He wanted to kill them in one strike. Great Jade Spiral. At the crucial moment, Master Jade River formed a seal with both hands and used his prized profound martial skill, creating a whirling current around the 3, blocking Demon Ancestor's attack. Master Jade River, what's the meaning of this? Could it be that you want to fight to the death with me? Demon Ancestor gloomily looked at Master Jade River. Master Jade River cleared his throat and said, they can't be killed. If you want to kill, you should kill those astral-reaching experts. What do you think? Not good. Hearing these words, the complexions of the astral-reaching experts within the Stoneman array changed. Each and every one of them erupted with Zhen Yuan and flew out like bees. As for Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing, they retreated 100 meters, operating their Zhen Yuan to the limit, preparing to retreat at any time. Die. Demon Master didn't think that an astral reaching expert could affect him. However, everything that had happened before had left him with a bellyful of anger, and he could vent it out on an astral reaching expert. With the earth as the sky, kill. The demon ancestor was proficient in the profound of earth. As he struck out with his palm, the universe reversed. The sky was no longer the sky, and the earth was no longer the earth. Not only did it mess up the direction of the escaping crowd, it also made them lose their sense of balance. They swayed left and right, looking extremely battered. Shortly after, an earthen yellow hand descended from the sky, covering the sun as it ruthlessly slammed down. What a terrifying profound meaning. Yi Chen's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. This palm strike of the demon ancestor had already surpassed the scope of techniques, and had completely risen to the level of the profound mysteries of the universe. Within the range of the palm pressure, the heaven and earth shook, and the universe reversed. Within it, one would be like an ant, unable to display even 30% of one's strength. Using 30% of one's strength to resist the full power of the demon ancestor was like smashing an egg against a rock. The might of a Sea of Soul Master had thoroughly surpassed Yi Chen's imagination. Just as the astral reaching experts within several li were about to be killed, the undying altar suddenly revolved. 6 light beams interweaved into one, turning into a thick beam that pierced through the sky, piercing through stunning sky, extreme void sky, and then zenith sky. Meanwhile, the stoneman array beneath the undying altar suddenly caved in, revealing a vertical passage of unknown depth. The passage was 10 li thick, and with the altar as the center, the gray tornado rushed up like a huge funnel. The mouth of the funnel went deep into the passage. Ah! 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 Without any resistance, everyone within 10 li was sucked into the funnel tornado. The astral reaching experts within 10 li also couldn't resist the suction of the tornado. They went fast, but the speed at which they were sucked back was even faster. They were sucked inside, including numerous stoneman statues. What's going on? As Sea of Soul Masters, Demon Ancestor and Master Jade River naturally wouldn't allow the tornado to do as it pleased. They urged their Jin Yuan with all their might, wanting to break free. However, the tornado's length was unknown, and its powerful suction even swept down the clouds in the sky. The few of them struggled a few times, but were once again sucked in. Inside the passage, nearly 100 people were rapidly descending, creating a scene of chaos. This scene is exactly the same as the pattern of the undying altar. Murong Qingqing recalled the pattern of the undying altar. Apart from the altar, the flickering light and tornado were also carved on it. Presumably, once the undying altar appeared, the scene above would appear. Yi Chen's forehead swelled, and his soul power fanned out. After a moment, he sucked in a deep breath. This passage's depth is over 100 li. This is troublesome. The underground was an unknown place. Although astral reaching experts could go up into the sky and down into the earth, there was still a limit. The sky couldn't be higher than the stunning sky, and the earth couldn't be lower than 20 or 30,000 meters, which was 40 to 50 li. Beyond this range was a place astral reaching experts couldn't go. At present, they had already gone dozens of li underground, but they still couldn't find the end. They were afraid that the depth of the passage was at least several hundred li huff. All of a sudden, the suction inside the passage increased sharply, and everyone's falling speed surpassed 5 times the speed of sound. Astral reaching experts could certainly reach several times the speed of sound when rushing at full speed, but that was under normal circumstances. Right now, things were clearly not normal. They were falling at a crazy speed, and couldn't be controlled at all. Some of the weaker astral reaching experts almost vomited out their internal organs, suffering heavy injuries from the sudden increase in suction. Almost subconsciously, Yi Chen grabbed Murong Qingqing's soft little hand. Murong Qingqing was startled for a moment, then clenched her soft hand. 50 li. 70 li. 150 li. 150 li. 250 li. We're dead for sure. We've already gone 200 li underground. Some astral reaching experts had long faces. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have joined in the fun. On the other hand, the expressions of Sea of Soul Realm experts like Demon Master and Master Jade River didn't change. A depth of several hundred li was still within their endurance range. Moreover, they firmly believed that this wasn't a disaster, but an opportunity for them. The secret of the undying body must be hidden deep underground. Huff huff, the suction was still increasing, reaching 7 times the speed of sound. Even Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing couldn't adapt to the sudden increase in speed. Their brows gradually creased. The suction is increasing. I'm afraid the true depth is beyond our imagination. Yi Chen tightened his grip on Murong Qingqing's hand and transmitted his Jin Yuan. Murong Qingqing said, there has always been a rumor that there is another world in the boundless depths of the underground. I wonder if it has any connection with this passage. Since we're already here, let's take things as they come. Yi Chen looked around. Everything was chaotic. Occasionally, he could see 1 or 2 faintly discernible stone statues. In this strange environment, the statues seemed to contain the martial Tao, which was thought-provoking. His mood soon calmed down. 300 li. 500 li. 800 li. 1,000 li. Soon, everyone arrived at the depth of 1,000 li. Even Sea of Soul Realm experts were somewhat frightened here. 1,000 li underground was a place they had never been to before. They hadn't even heard of it. How deep the true spirit continent's underground was. From ancient times until now, no one could say for sure. Is the secret of the undying body really underground? Demon Master's face flickered with a trace of fear. 1,000 li below was more or less a dangerous forbidden zone for him. Normally, forbidden zones underground were basically impossible to enter, and the degree of danger far surpassed the forbidden zones on the surface. Not far away, Master Jade River smiled bitterly. From time to time, he would urge his soul power to probe the depth, but the result made him extremely panicked. He couldn't find anything. As for Daoist Iron Wood, Daoist Black Snake, and the other Sea of Soul Realm experts, their faces were all deathly pale. They were prepared to resign themselves to fate. In any case, struggling would be futile. There was no need to think too much. The suction continued to increase, reaching 10 times the speed of sound from 7 times the speed of sound. More than 10 astral reaching experts vomited blood and died, turning into mindless corpses. Strangely, an illusory shadow floated out of these mindless corpses, fusing with the similarly descending stone statues. The statues seemed even more mysterious. 2,000 li. 3,000 li. 5,000 li. The endless descent made everyone indescribably frightened. What kind of concept was 5,000 li? From the surface to the stunning sky, it was only a few hundred li. 5,000 li was more than 10 times that. Moreover, the underground wasn't air, but earth. Every inch of the earth was several hundred times thicker than air. One could imagine how desperate it was to be buried inside. Fortunately, the suction stopped increasing after reaching 10 times the speed of sound. Otherwise, not more than 50% of the 100 people would have survived. 6,000 li. 7,000 li. 9,000 li. After 9,000 li, the suction finally slowed down, dropping from 10 times the speed of sound to 8 times the speed of sound, then 5 times the speed of sound, and then 3 times the speed of sound. At 9,900 li, Yi Chen measured the end and said with a deep voice, "If nothing goes wrong, we are about 10,000 li away from the surface." This depth is really despairing. Even though Murong Qingqing was extremely calm, she couldn't help but feel heavy, as if there was a huge rock pressing down on her heart, making it hard for her to breathe. The world below them was not completely dark, but rather a slightly dusky day. In their line of sight, Everything was dark green, extending to the horizon. This was a huge rainforest in the underground world, and they had just descended from the grey clouds. Whoosh! 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 Coming out of the clouds, the suction suddenly disappeared. Only the statues, because of their weight, fell one after another into the rainforest, creating huge craters. The shockwave radiated in all directions, startling a large number of strange birds and forest beasts. What's going on? I can't feel my Jin Yuan. Someone wanted to use his Jin Yuan to slow down, but found that there was no reaction in his body, so he cried out. Me too. Not good. Without Jin Yuan, how can we survive in this damned place? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.